Okay, let's make sure we're actually fucking recording this time. Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And today we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy XIV and the storyline trends and little things that I've noticed so far that I think that I've noticed. It's one of the most highly requested videos ever on my channel, is people just curious, like, where are you at? Like, what's going on in your mind? Like, what are you thinking? Now, if you guys don't know, I do stream over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Pyromancer. We normally stream on Tuesdays and Fridays, typically between 12 p.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific time. Sometimes I add in extra days or extra hours. I did like a 15-hour stream the other day. So that's where you can actually go and see this thought process live. And that's where I'm actually there taking notes. A lot of you may not know this, but I have over almost 100 pages of notes on Final Fantasy XIV so far. Anything from small story beats to big Hydaelyn Zodiark connections that I'm trying to make in my mind. Little side thoughts and everything like that as I go. There's a lot of lore in this game. And I came from World of Warcraft as a heavy lore guy, as most of you will probably know. So for me, this is one of the biggest reasons why I am playing Final Fantasy. The story has been immaculate so far. But I'd like to give you guys a little bit of insight onto my thinking. So before we jump into it, if you're new to my channel and this is the first time you're watching, I would certainly appreciate it if you would hit the subscribe button. It's a free way to support me, help grow the channel, and we are so close to 100,000 subs. At 100,000 subs, I get a silver play button from YouTube that comes on a plaque, and I actually get to put it on the wall. It's got my channel name and everything. So if you guys would help me get there, I would really appreciate it. We're so close. So if you enjoyed this video in particular, make sure to not only hit the subscribe button, but also hit the like button. It's another great way to support me, and it just makes me feel good. It lets me know you guys are enjoying the content that I'm putting out here. All right, without any further ado, let's jump into it. So in my notes, I have many different things, right? Like I said, covering from characters to major plots to small subtleties and hints. And as I play through this game, there's two main groups of individuals who I've really put a lot of focus on. And that, of course, would be the Scions of the Seventh Dawn and Hydaelyn, and then the Ascians and Zodiark. Then there's also the Warrior of Light on the side of Hydaelyn, and then the Warrior of Darkness on the side of Zodiark. So to me, I see this very plain kind of cut down the middle. Here's your white, here's your black, but I know that the truth is that somewhere in the middle there exists a whole lot of gray. So some things that I've noticed, okay? We as the Warrior of Light are special in that we have a supreme connection to Hydaelyn. We are essentially Hydaelyn's champion. We're the one that goes around and kind of, to an extent, exerts Hydaelyn's will. You know, we kind of go around and do what she's wanting us to, which has even led to the fulfillment of certain pacts between beings like Hydaelyn and Midgard-Zemir. So there's a lot going on there, and Hydaelyn's been very interesting. The main thing is that Hydaelyn must be incredibly old. I just learned in 3.1, working with Master Matoya and Y'shtola and Alphino, in Kryl, I've learned that there are crystals of light which exist in the world, and Matoya's happens to be very old, from several eras ago, and it is much more powerful than the ones that exist now. Now that would go to say, of course, that Hydaelyn has been losing power over time, but it also suggests that Hydaelyn has been present most likely through most of, if not all of, the Umbral calamities. Now the thing is, I haven't been given any timelines really as far as how old Hydaelyn is, how long ago was the first Umbral calamity. I have no idea, right? I'm in 3.1, so I'm not even into Stormblood yet. I haven't even fought the Warring Triad yet, but I'm on my way to do so. So that's kind of where I'm at. Now Hydaelyn produces champions, the Warrior of Light, but then also gifts certain individuals with the Echo. Now the Echo is different for everybody, as I've just recently learned from Kryl, who can speak to creatures of all manner and size and things of that nature, but she cannot commune with beasts. But she's not really speaking to them, she's more like hearing the thoughts of their soul, which is fucking sane, by the way. Talk about an invasion of privacy. So private that you don't even know that you're thinking and feeling those things. So kind of crazy, right? But then we have Minfilia with her Echo. We have the Echo. There's several examples of that. But it's this special power that seems to be it's kind of wishy-washy in the game so far, but it seems to be separate from the Blessing of Light. The Blessing of Light is something that we gather through getting connections with these pure elemental crystals the first time around anyway, before Midgard's strips us of that blessing. So he takes this blessing away from us, presumably because us using it is actually weakening Hydaelyn. I'm assuming, I mean, that's what Midgard's kind of alluded to, is that the longer that we hold this connection, and that we do this, the more it actually is draining Hydaelyn, and the worse it's going to be. However, it also sounded as though Midgard's wasn't exactly sure if he thought that we were worthy of Hydaelyn's gift, which he later kind of comes to the acceptance that we are. So we have this echo, and then we have the crystals of light, this power that are bound via the elements. Now, the thing is that I learned when I was doing Azys Law, just before fighting Thordan, which was fucking incredible, one of the coolest fights I've ever done in any game. I learned that the Ascians have the echo too. Lahabrea and Igiorm, you fight them both and they merge, and before they merge and become the Ascian Prime, they actually, and become their true form, it seems like, Lahabrea makes a comment about how they're gonna show the mortals the true power of the echo, the power to break down the barriers of reality. So he's suggesting that the Ascians have the echo, and that could be why they're immortal, if not captured within white auracite, or if not captured within an etheric blade of some manner, as Thordan did with Lahabrea. So it's fucking crazy. It sounds like both Hydaelyn, some of Hydaelyn's kind of minions have the echo, and it sounds like some of the Ascians, if not all the Ascians, also have the echo. Now, the echo is an interesting ability in that, for us, it actually allows us to see the memories of somebody else. We can kind of look back in time to an echo of something that happened. But why is it actually named the echo? I would assume because maybe we have echoes of former Warrior of Light's power. Maybe it's an echo that's passed on through the calamities. I did learn that the Warriors of Light, come to serve and come to fruition on the cusp of an umbral calamity. Hydaelyn calls them forth and basically works miracles in order to stop the calamity. Now, the calamities are referred to as something else by the Ascians, and that's the rejoining, or joining. And it sounds like the Ascians want to bring this god of theirs, Zodiark, into our reality, but there's some steps that have to happen before that can occur. Now, Zodiark, I've seen, the big dark purple crystal, and it seems almost like an antithesis to what Hydaelyn is, right? Like there's kind of two sides of the same coin, so to speak. But I would imagine that they both probably have manifestations more humanoid, I would assume, when they manifest in reality. Like, I don't expect Hydaelyn to come in as a big crystal. That could happen, but I'm assuming that they have avatars of some sort that they can use to manifest themselves in reality in some manner, I would think. Now, as far as where they are, I don't know. I'm assuming Zodiark is in the world of darkness, or like in the void. I'm not really sure how that works, or if there's a gray area that exists between those two things. And as far as Hydaelyn goes, I'm a little bit tripped up, because we're told, like, the land is alive, so believe, right? The world of Hydaelyn is alive. Now, in World of Warcraft, the world of Azeroth was alive too, and Azeroth was a goddess that lived inside of our planet, or so we're told. So I'm wondering if Hydaelyn is actually like inside the planet physically, and that's why Zodiark wants to make his way into the physical plane where it all exists, so that there can be some kind of merger, this rejoining. The Ascians talk about the world returning to what it was, and I know that it started with Umbral and then went to Astral, and it cycles through just like the calendar does in the game. So we were in our first Umbral era, first Astral era, second Umbral Calamity, second Umbral era, as far as I'm understanding it. That's how it works. Now, it sounds like the Ascians have been attempting this time and time again. They've made mention of she's staved off the rejoining multiple times, but not this time, right? So the Ascians are trying to bring this rejoining together. Now, the words rejoining, again, makes me kind of feel like Zodiark was probably part of Hydaelyn, or this was all some kind of constructed ecosystem that was working pretty well initially, but has since maybe changed because of the presence of Hydaelyn. Maybe one came before the other. Maybe they both came at the same time. I'm not sure, but it kind of seems like to me like Hydaelyn and Zodiark are like the fucking tippy top of power. And then we get into like the 12 and the Primals and things like that. Now, let's get into that, because that's going to directly tie into what I'm seeing Zodiark and the Ascians doing. So you have a couple different groups of gods. You have the Warring Triad, which are kind of like their own little separate things, summoned a long, long time ago, imprisoned by the Alligans, almost said the Ascians, and have been there ever since for thousands of years. Then you've got the 12, right? So these are like the kind of the holy deities, right? Like your Halone, your Althic, your Thaliak, those kinds of gods, right? That seem to be of their own separate pantheon and kind of separate from the Primals. Then you've got the Primals, which are generally summoned out of fervent prayer, typically by what's referred to as beast tribes, which is realistically just a racist fucking term made up by Eorzeans in a way to like make those lesser peoples than the sophisticated races and groups of Eorzea, because they're really just indigenous peoples is really what they seem to be. Typically, they summon these primals when they're afraid, when their land's being encroached on, when a treaty's been broken, like the Sahagin, right? Like the Ixal, the Amalja had some issues with that kind of stuff, right? So a lot of times these are being summoned out of a feeling of necessity because they feel like it's the only thing that they can do. There are exceptions to that, like Ravana, for example, in the One Mind, who decided to summon him not out of necessity, but because that's just kind of what they're driven to do. That's just what they want to do. They want to expand their empire. They want the fighting. They want the war. Ravana almost comes off to me in Ravana of the Four Blades, go figure, as like kind of like a sword logic kind of deal from like Destiny 2, right? Where like the Hive is they just believe in sword logic, and your right to exist is defined by your ability to fight and defend yourself. And so that was a really interesting, really cool take on that. There's also Alexander, who was manifest with such inline logic and reason and honestly just cold calculation, really. It came to realize that it was a threat to the very surroundings that were near it. And so I found that very interesting that Alexander chose to do nothing in order to make sure that it wouldn't destroy the dream which it was created to fulfill. Beautiful storyline. Alexander was absolutely fucking fantastic. But then I take a step back and I start to look at this, right? We typically see the 12 called upon by the more orderly peoples of Eorzea, right? The ones in the more sophisticated civilizations. Those almost seem like gods that would be kind of more tailored towards Hydaelyn. And when I look at the Primals and I see the way which they react, and after learning that the Primals that are summoned are not even the real deities themselves, they're fake falsehoods, right? They're these fake, dark manifestations of falsified faith, and they're not real. And this was a very hard-hitting, heart-crushing story that we saw unfold with Isael, which I loved. I love the story in this game. But we learned that these Primals, they're not real. They're not the real thing. But who's going around teaching everybody how to summon them? Oh, it's the Ascians. So the Ascians know the secrets to summoning these things. And the Ascians also know that they're not real gods, and they also know that when they're summoned that they're going to suck the fucking land of ether. And remember, the land is alive. So what I would assume at this point is that Zodiark and the Ascians are more directly responsible for the Primals than we probably realize. And it would seem as though they want to summon these Primals because it weakens Hydaelyn. And the weaker that they can get Hydaelyn, the easier a time they're going to have bringing Zodiark into reality. The reason I say that is because of one very distinct detail that I recall Nebriales pointing out when he invaded the Waking Sands, and that was that because we no longer had our Blessing of Light, we couldn't keep the Ascians out of the Waking Sands. We could not repel them, so to speak. But after it was gone, they could enter. Now that leads me to believe that that's a microcosm of what's happening with Hydaelyn and Zodiark. And that if Zodiark wants to manifest in reality, in any capacity, Hydaelyn has to be weakened to the point where she cannot repel his presence. And that's about as far as I've gotten with it. There's many questions that I have regarding Hydaelyn and Zodiark. And those questions are going to be things like, what is the relationship that exists between them? How old are they, right? Is Hydaelyn currently exerting more power in will than she's supposed to? You know, Hydaelyn has basically worked miracles to stop the end of the world several times, maybe 7 times. So that's got to be extremely frustrating for the Ascians and for Zodiark, and I'm really excited to find out why and what that is and what's going on there. Some other things that I'm curious to learn about is what happens when the will of light is allowed to exert its influence too potently, because I've seen that occur in other video games, and it's generally terrifying when it happens. And that goes both ways, light or darkness. If there is an imbalance of either, there's usually going to be a hard time, right? Like, a lot of things are about finding a balance. And so I'm hoping that that's what I'm going to see. And really the last biggest question is right there on the wall. And Thornton got me thinking about this. What am I? What is the Warrior of Light? I don't have to pray to Hydaelyn. I don't have to give crystals. I don't have to do anything. Hydaelyn just uses me as a vessel sometimes to, like, just exert her will. Divine intervention. What the fuck am I? And what does that make the Warrior of Darkness? And I almost wonder if that's how it's going to work out, is I'm going to learn more about the Warrior of Darkness, which is going to reveal more about me. Because what am I? What am I? Am I a god? Have I surpassed a god? Am I a specter? Am I a shadow? Am I real in the sense that I'm an actual person? What am I? And what is going on? I'm excited to find out more. That's where my head's at. I appreciate you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please hit the like button and subscribe. Go and check out my Twitch, twitch.tv/Pyromancer. My Discord, there'll be a link in the description below. I appreciate you guys very much. Thanks so much for watching. Stay awesome, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace!